the show in the middle of the stage, but let's not forget about those women. And one woman of color who came hot out of the gate, drawing huge crowds in California. This is a big moment for her. Kamala Harris in California. Can she break through?
All right, Devin, we're going to see what happens just moments from now as night 2 of the Democratic debate begins. And then, of course, all the talking about it as the candidates head right back out onto the campaign trail of this busy election season. For my colleagues, I'm Aaron Katersky. You've been listening to live coverage from ABC News.
When breaking news changes the world, ABC News, accurate, credible, and unmatched. On Twitter at ABC News Radio.
Sorry about that, folks. Had to get the big glass. There's going to be a lot of bullshit out there. I'm JR. It is inside. I do have sunglasses on.
So Lisa, let's start with last night.
I got to see through the bullshit.
Nobody was eliminated. They're all still in the running. Well, it depends on who you ask.
Big glass of 18-year Johnny Walker.
Right here on the debate site, we know what average voters think is more important. But here, the sentiment is that
we might have to go back for seconds.
And may have done the most of his campaign to get attention to who he is, get interest. And we saw that actually online translated. He was the most buzzed about candidate. People looking him up on Google.
So we got the audio on.
Agreement that he did well. Elizabeth Warren was thought to have a good night, keeping kind of her form positioning right now.
Waiting for them to get started.
And whether he may have
it's going to be a shit show.
But, it's hard to say.
So my name's JR. This is a brand new channel.
And Stu, what's your sense of last night? Any sense of the?
I'm going to be on my own channel in a little bit, but right now it's under a bigger channel, which I own also. But I want to do kind of different things: some sports, some politics, some debate, some mental meritocracy. Who has the best idea? So don't steal my idea yet.
So we just go on from here. I do want to answer this. Elizabeth Warren openly declared herself last night, Lisa, as
get a couple of things going. Wow.
Doing away with private insurance, and as you noted in your script. That's right, and that was a significant.
While I wait on these fools, I thought it was already started.
It's not a position that she had firmly taken yet, and it really was her trying to say, not only do I already represent symbolically the progressive wing, but I'm going to push even further on that agenda. It put the rest of the candidates, I think, who did not raise their hand in a difficult position of explaining a more nuanced position. Most of them believe ultimately they would like to get to some sort of universal healthcare system. They disagree on what that means. And they don't agree over how long that should take. So that was harder to explain than just the binary, I'm for it, let's change it, that Elizabeth Warren, that her position that she took. But Sue, you don't think something like that shifts the way we read this group?
No, I don't think so at this point, Judy. It's introducing the candidates to see who seems knowledgeable, down to earth, personable, maybe funny.
All right, I got to be a little bit more entertaining than no one's sitting here to watch me work. But I did get a like. No, I didn't. It's still 0 and 0. Maybe I'm just too drunk.
They're taking, I think, a broader view.
So, Lisa, let's talk about tonight. First of all, what is the lineup going to look like on the stage?
Other.
But we want to get a sense of how different this is.
So as you can see,
I think, Judy, tonight we have
home.
The top 5.
That's a big fucking map of Texas. I'm there somewhere. I'm from Texas. I wear American tank tops. You can imagine what I got around. So I'm a libertarian. I believe that all government is terrible and it should be as small as humanly possible.
Who have not been in Washington, including 2 people who have never had any kind of political experience. Andrew Yang, an entrepreneur, and Marianne Williamson, who is an author and is well known for her appearances and associations with Oprah. So
sorry, got a couple different chats going. So this channel is going to be a little bit of politics, a little bit of sports, a lot of fucking common sense. If you don't have common sense, you won't be a fan. You can go on to the next channel. There's 15 million of them.
Not a lot of geographic diversity tonight. We have 5 candidates that are from California and New York alone.
California and New York. And let me guess, they want the popular vote because they're the 2 most popular states. Go figure.
Like that of Colorado Senator Michael Bennet. He says, I'm worried that the Democratic Party is not fighting for the middle of the country, and I think that will be seen on stage tonight. It's
He's
something
worried
he
that
is
the
going to
Democratic Party is not working for the people. It's not. It hasn't in a long, long, long time. Again, I'm a libertarian. I hate both fucking parties. Probably agree with half the left, half the right, but I'm not an idiot. So, in different times, common sense tends to fall on one side or the other. Right? Topic to topic. From gay marriage to marijuana legalization. Right? You got extremes on both sides. And I don't remember who said it, but somebody said it used to be if you had 6 Democratic views and 4 Republican views, you were a Democrat. If you had 6 Republican views and 4 Democratic views, you were a Republican. And if you had 9 out of 10 that you agreed with the Republicans, you were an extremist. If you were 9 out of 10 on the left, you were an extremist. And now, if you don't have 9 or 10, then if you're not 9 out of 10 Democrat, then you're a Republican. If you're not 9 out of 10 Republican, you're a Democrat. So guess what both sides tell me? They tell me I don't understand conservatism. They tell me I don't understand liberalism. No, you don't fucking understand it, bruh.
So we're going to have to figure out how to interrupt when maybe that's not their.
Everybody wants to say, you won't tell me what to do, but I'll tell you what to do.
Talking with his campaign at length earlier today, here when they sort of had a gathering.
And I don't think that Americans want to be ruled that way anymore. So good luck if that's the way that you are going to run your campaign this year or anytime in the near future, is that you're going to tell people what to do. Because you will lose if you try and tell people what to do. That is a 100% guarantee.
Like an Eric Swalwell, who will say, listen, here are candidates from the past. I am the future. Let's move to a new generation. So you're going to see a battle over the soul of the Democratic Party as well as the future of the country.
So I don't have anything up on the TV right now, so we can swing around the office.
That's the soul of the country he will be fighting for, they say, as other Democrats are going to be fighting for.
Up to the top. If you want to donate some books, let me know. I need a bunch. Got another bookcase coming. I want to fill it with smart books, people books. My favorite book that I have, since I'm waiting on them to talk about a debate, is
All right, there's a lot to watch, and we're gonna be watching closely.
these 2 books.
Lisa Desjardins in Miami.
Thank you for arguing. Got it in college, in a rhetoric class, rhetoric class, however you want to say it. In this one, Business and Technical Writing, the most driest book you will ever read. But guess what? It'll teach you how to fucking get a job, teach you how to act in a job, tell you how to write professionally, write memos, how everybody else is expecting it to come to. This book right here will walk you through it. All right, look.
My DNA results, they opened up so many doors. It's a lifelong adventure, finding all of these new connections all the time.
New features, greater details.
We're getting some commercials in the background. I don't have cable in my office yet.
So for every family,
And I don't know the sign in. I don't do that streaming, so I just streamed it from YouTube on one. And
which will make all the difference between those families being able to get through the end of the
run my
month,
live channel on another. So
or not. And on day one, I will
got a couple
reveal that
laptops,
that
couple
benefits the top 1% of
couple
the
screens.
corporations.
Want another one for this corner up here. So no matter which way I look, it's up there. No, not that corner. That corner, because then the neighbors won't be able to see either. We might have to take this over to the lounge later. That's something gonna comfortable.
Only one
Oh.
candidate on this stage, Senator Sanders, identifies himself as a democratic socialist. What are the policies or positions of your opponents that you think are veering towards socialism?
Well, I think that the bottom line is if we don't clearly define that we are not socialists, the Republicans are going to come at us every way they can and call us socialists. And if you look at the Green New Deal, which I admire the sense of urgency and how important it is to do climate change, I'm a scientist, but we can't promise every American a government job. If you want to get universal health care coverage, I believe that health care is a right. and not a privilege. But you can't expect to eliminate private insurance for 180 million people, many of whom don't want to give it up. In Colorado, we brought businesses and nonprofits together. We got
Okay, there's something going wrong here.
universal health care coverage. We were the first state in America to bring the environmental community and the oil and gas industry to aggressively address methane emissions. And we were also the first place to expand reproductive rights on a scale basis. And we
I don't know who's talking.
By 54%. We've done the big progressive things people said couldn't be done. I've done what pretty much everyone else up here is still talking about doing.
Governor, thank you. Senator Sanders, I'll give you a chance to.
Okay, we're gonna have to find another.
What is your response
We're gonna have to find another live stream real
nominating
quick.
a socialist would re-elect Donald Trump?
Well, I think the responses at the polls, last poll I saw, had us 10 points ahead of Donald Trump. Because
Oh, those polls! Tell me again, Bernie, about those polls. They were terrible last time, and they ain't getting no better this time.
And a racist, and that he lied to the American people during his campaign. He said he was going to stand up for working families. Well, President Trump, you're not standing up for working families when you try to throw.
Except for that big giant tax cut for 75% of the people, especially the ones that don't live in shitholes like New York and California.
We expose him to the fraud that he is.
And you want to call them racist, but somebody was trying to co-opt the civil rights movement to try and turn as many black people into communists as he possibly could. That wasn't Donald Trump. That was Bernie Sanders. That was your written mission for the Communist Party of America during the civil rights movement. So go fuck yourself.
So if you're talking about ending gun violence, it's the greed of the NRA and the gun manufacturers that make any progress impossible. It's the greed of the insurance companies and the drug companies when we want to try to get healthcare as a right and not a privilege. So there need not be disagreement in the party because in truth, we want healthy capitalism. We don't want corrupted capitalism. I want to be fair to all the candidates. Agreed here. Senator Bennett. You have said, quote, it's possible to write policy proposals that have no basis in reality.
All right, come on. Somebody.
Were you referring to any candidate or proposal in particular when you said that?
Was that directed at me?
Yes, that was
I appreciate it.
Has come to take your very balls to the promised land.
What the fundamental challenge we're facing as a country is
Introducing the
economic.
All right, here's what we're gonna do.
People, 160,000 families in the top 0.1%.
This dude right here is pointing the camera at his cell phone for his live stream.
Where I disagree is on his solution on Medicare for all.
What is your fucking problem, bro?
Which we need to do. It is a right. Healthcare is a right.
We are not watching that one.
I believe the way to do that is by finishing the work we started with Obamacare and creating a public option that every family and every person in America can make a choice for their family about whether they want a public option. Which for
You don't want to do that because we ain't gonna choose your fucking overpriced and underdelivered fucking public option.
Much more quickly if we do that. Bernie, if I could just finish, Bernie mentioned that the taxes that we
The Young Turks. At least that's not gonna be a fucking someone pointing the camera at their goddamn cell phone. Let's mute that. I just want to see who's talking at once. I don't care what the fucking young fags are talking about. And yes, I said fags because I'm fucking politically incorrect. And I don't mean that they're gay, but I'm sure at least most of the fucking dudes on that show have at least touched the penis. Come on. Let's be honest.
Senator, we will get to this. We will get to this. Before we do, I want to say hello and good evening, not just to Mayor.
Buenas noches, let's talk in Espanol and try and get as many of the El Hispanes to vote for us way.
Why not?
Vámonos all.
So college affordability is personal for us. Jessa and I have six-figure student debt. I believe in reducing student debt.
I bet you do a six-figure student
Refinance your
debt.
house, you ought to be able to refinance your student debt. I also believe in free college for low and middle income students.
You can refinance your student loans if you have really good credit and a good income score.
I just don't believe it makes sense
to ask working class families to subsidize even the
Especially if you
children of
bought
billionaires.
property.
I think the children of the wealthiest Americans can pay at least a little bit of tuition. And while I want tuition costs to go down, I don't think we can buy down every last penny for that. Now, there's something else that doesn't get talked about in the college affordability debate. Yes, it needs to be more affordable.
Why is it not showing?
It also
Come on,
needs to be
assholes.
more affordable in this country to not go to college. You should be able to live well, afford rent, be generous to your church.
By just flipping burgers.
College or not, that's one of many reasons we need to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour.
Woo! $15 an hour. Then now nobody will be able to work. Everybody goes out of business except for Walmart, Amazon.
Something else that doesn't get talked
The
about.
next generation, the 40 million of us who can't start a family, can't take a good idea and start a business.
Is that Pete likes it in his butt?
This is the generation that's going to be able to solve.
Yeah. There we go. Now I know who's talking.
Policy is to give every adult in the United States one a year. How would you do that? Sorry? How would you do that?
Oh, so it's difficult to do if you have companies like Amazon, trillion-dollar tech companies paying literally zero in taxes while they're closing 30% of our stores. Now, we need to put the American people in position to benefit from all
I need to
these
find
innovations in other
this
parts of the
audio and
economy.
shut
If
it
we had
down.
a value-added
Play the
tax
other
at
one.
At the European level, it would generate over $800 billion in new revenue, which combined with the money in our hands, it would be the trickle-up economy from our people, families.
We could spend even more of your money if we just took more of your money. It would be awesome. Give us all your money.
We'd save money on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care, and just the value gains from having a stronger, healthier, mentally healthier population would increase GDP by $700 billion.
Yeah, because people with extra $1,000, they got all kinds of money and they don't have any problems. Rich people have no mental problems. None of them are sad. None of those old rich white guys end up blowing their brains out at the highest rate of anything other than transgender. Any of
So
them.
you're saying $1,000 a month for everyone over 18, but a value-added tax, so you can spend that $1,000 on value-added tax?
Well, the value-added tax would end up, you'd still be increasing the buying power of the bottom 94% of Americans. You have to spend a lot of money for a mild value-added tax to eat up $12,000 a year per individual. So for the average family with 2 or 3
Yeah,
adults,
let me
it'd be
get this.
$24,000 to $36,000.
I can't see if anybody's ever come into my chat.
Yang's talking about it, and you just actually mentioned it. Many Americans are worried that things like self-driving cars, robots, drones, artificial intelligence will cost them their jobs. What would you do to help people get the skills they
Again,
need to adapt
nobody's
to this
here.
new world?
I'm JR though. I'm gonna end up posting this.
Technology creates more jobs than it displaces. And I've seen the anxiety across America where manufacturing floors go from 1,000 to 100 to 1. So we have to modernize our schools, value the teachers who prepare our kids, wipe the student debt from any teacher that goes into a community that needs it, invest in America's communities, especially where places.
Hey, I could get behind
exports
that.
people who move away
I can get behind that. Woohoo! Eric Swalwell, good
6
job.
years old when a presidential candidate came to the California Democratic Convention and said, "It's time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans." That candidate was then Senator Joe Biden. Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today. If we're going to solve the issues of our nation, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issues
Throw
of
some
our
gasoline on them,
If we're gonna
boys.
solve the issue of student loan
Gotta
debt,
make sure I get this one right. Excuse me.
End gun violence for families who are fearful of sending their kids to school. Pass the torch.
Vice President, would you like to sing a torch?
I would. I'm still holding on to that torch. I want to make it clear to you. Look, the fact
I want to make it clear to you, you little punk son of a bitch. I'm gonna fucking grab you by your fucking shoulders after this on the next fucking break, and I'm gonna blow in your ear, boy. You thought it was only little girls. No, sir.
That's why I think we should have universal pre-K. That's why I think every single
Yeah. The mom, then babies don't need to be with their mothers. No. Fucking crazy. You're fucking crazy.
That's why there should be free.
They're 4. They need to go to school all fucking day.
That's why we should
Make them learn shit.
We do not have anyone have to pay back the student debt when they get out. They less than $25,000 a year. Their debt is frozen, no interest payment until they get beyond that. We can't put people in a position where they
Oh, so I can go get underemployed like they did under Obama. Why do they want people working like 20, 25 hours a week and fucking sucking off the tit of the government? Why?
Before we move on.
Purdy. Hey, I'm talking here. Excuse me. I know I've talked 4 times. You haven't talked, but I'm going to talk again. The fossil fuel industry. They will come for my bones in 5 years because they will be able to make oil from it.
Okay, guys, you know what? America does not want to witness a food fight. They want to know how we're going to put food on their table.
Damn, she just put the dick down on him. She said, y'all shut the fuck up. It's time for me to talk. I'm the fucking cop in the room. Listen.
Part of the issue that is at play in America today, and we've all been traveling around the country.
All these fucking racists.
I'm meeting people who are working 2 and 3 jobs. You know, this president walks around talking about and flagging his great economy, right? My great economy, my great economy. You ask him, well, how are you measuring this greatness of this economy of yours? And he talks about
GDP, job growth, the stock market.
So many families in America do not. You ask
them, 401ks?
Economy,
fucking McDonald's offers a fucking 401k. You didn't want to put the 3% on your paycheck. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
When we talk about jobs, let's be really clear.
You don't know stocks.
No one should have to work more than one job to have a roof over their head. And
nobody does. They just have to move out of fucking California, and then they won't be homeless. Fucking idiot.
Let's talk about healthcare. This is going to be a show of hands question. We asked a question about healthcare last night that spurred a lot of discussion, as you know. We're going to do it again now. Many people watching at home have health insurance and their employer would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan. All right. Christian Gillibrand, Senator Gillibrand.
So no, it's my turn. So this is a very important issue. So the plan that Senator Sanders and I and others support, Medicare for All, is how you get to single payer. But it has a buy-in transition period, which is really important. In 2005, when I ran for Congress in a 2-to-1 Republican district, I actually ran on Medicare for All, and I won that 2-to-1 Republican district twice. And the way I formulated it was simple. Anyone who doesn't have access to insurance they like, they could buy in a percentage of income they could afford. So that's what we put into the transition period for our Medicare for All plan. I believe we need to get to universal health care as a right, not a privilege, to single payer. The quickest way you get there is you create competition with the insurers. God bless the insurers. If they want to compete, they can certainly try. But they've never put people over their profits, and I doubt they ever will. So what will happen is people will choose Medicare, you will transition, we will get to Medicare for All, and then your step to single payer is so short. I would make it an earned benefit, just like Social Security, so that you buy in your whole life. It is always there for you, and it's permanent, and it's universal.
Senator, your time's out. I want to put that same question.
And then all the doctors go to another country. The moment we do that, Canada's like, yeah, we're done with single payer. We're going to be the innovator of all the fucking medicine in the world, and all the pharmaceutical companies will base out of here, and we'll tax them at their 20% of their $1 trillion worth of industry. Go fuck yourself. If you want to run every last fucking business out of America so we can all go back to fucking farming and fishing, I'm in. But if you're just fucking it up because you don't like America, get the fuck out. If another country will take your bitch ass, because they probably, where you from? California?
Even in countries that have outright socialized medicine.
You ever lived in a tent?
Even there's still a private sector. That's fine. It's just that for our primary care, we can't be relying on the tender mercies of the corporate system. This one's very personal for me. I started out this year dealing with terminal illness of my father. I make decisions for a living, and nothing could have prepared me for the kind of decisions our family faced. But the thing that's going for us was that we never had to make those decisions based on whether it was going to bankrupt our family because of Medicare. And I want every family to have that same freedom to do what's
He
medically right.
likes it in his butt. He sounds like a Republican. If we're just gonna be honest.
Obamacare. So where do we go from here?
Look, this is very personal to me. When my wife and daughter were killed in an automobile accident, my two boys were really very badly injured. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like had I not had adequate health care available immediately. And then when my son came home from Iraq after a year, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was given months to live. I can't fathom what would have happened if, in fact, they said, by the way, the last 6 months of your life, you're on your own. We're cutting off. You've used up your time.
Well, you better not give the government the opportunity to decide if that's true or not.
Obamacare, to build on what we did. And secondly, to make sure that everyone does have an option. Everyone, whether they have private insurance, employer insurance, or no insurance, they in fact can buy in the exchange to a Medicare-like plan. And the way to do that, we can do it quickly. Look, urgency matters. There's people right now facing what I faced and what we faced without any of the help I had. We must move now. I'm against any Democrat who opposes that takes down Obamacare and any Republican who wants to get rid of it.
Let me turn to Senator Sanders.
Obama is my master. He will not endorse me, but I love him. We were besties in the White House. I was his sidekick. Now I want to be the hero.
Can't make it work in those states. How would you implement it on a national level?
No, Joe.
I find it hard to believe.
I find it hard to believe.
Major country on earth, including my neighbor 50 miles north of me, Canada, somehow has figured out a way to
make
provide
healthcare as a right.
woman and child, and in most cases, they're spending 50% per capita what we are spending. Let's be clear.
And the care is only 70% of what we have. So you pay 50, you get 70. Or you pay 100 and you get 100. It's not like it's your heart or anything. Or your face. Why do they come here if they have free health care there and it's so great? Why do they come here to get medical care?
For prescription drugs, and I will lower prescription drug prices in half in this country.
That you can do.
Companies make $69 billion in profit. They will spend hundreds of millions of dollars lying to the American people, telling us why we cannot have a Medicare.
I just have to follow up. How do you implement it on a national level? How do you implement it on a national level, given the fact it's not succeeded in other states have tried?
I will tell you how we'll do it.
I will tell you how we do it. We take 10% from the top 1%.
We will have Medicare for all, when tens of millions of people are prepared to stand up and tell the insurance companies and the drug companies that their day is gone, that healthcare is a human right, not something to make huge profits on.
And then the doctors will go. And we will be like, yes, we need doctors, and we will hire all new doctors. They might not have made it to medical school, but we have all new doctors.
Lower the cost of prescription drugs.
Well, first of all, the government should never have made the deal with the big pharma that they couldn't negotiate. That was just part of the regular corruption by which multinational corporations have their way with us. You know, I want to say that while I agree with, I'm with Senator Bennett and others, but I agree with almost everything here. I'll tell you one thing. It's really nice that we got all these plans, but if you think we're going to beat Donald Trump by just having all these plans, you got another thing coming. Because he didn't win by saying he had a plan. He won by simply saying, make America great again. We got to get deeper than just these superficial fixes, as important as they are. Even if we're just talking about the superficial fixes, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a health care system in the United States. We have a sickness care system in the United States. We just wait till somebody gets sick, and then we talk about who's going to pay for the treatment and how they're going to be treated. What we need to talk about is why so many Americans have unnecessary chronic illnesses, so many more compared to other countries. And that gets back into not just the big pharma, not just health insurance companies. It has to do with chemical policies. It has to do with environmental policies. It has to do with food policies.
Wow. She actually sounded fucking smart.
mentioned a moment ago. Is that
I might be a fucking Democrat this time. Oh my fucking god!
Was very moving about this, and Mayor Pete as well. I had prostate cancer recently, as you may know, and that's why I was a little late getting in the race. The same week my kid had a appendectomy out, and I feel very strongly that families ought to be able to have this choice. I think that's what the American people want. I believe it will get us there quickly.
It's kind of hot too.
Millions of people
Ain't
in
gonna
America
lie.
that do not have health.
I was like, damn. Kamala Harris.
They make too much money to be on.
That ain't Kamala Harris.
Can't afford health insurance.
It sure wasn't Kamala Harris.
Says that Canada,
Mariana Williamson or something. Miriam Williamson, something like that. I don't know.
30 million people in the United States, easily the number of people on a public option. It could easily be 35 million. And for them, it would be Medicare for all, as Mayor Buttigieg says. But for others that want to keep it, they should be able to keep it. And I think that will be the fastest way to get where we need to go. Also, I will say, Bernie is a very honest person. He has said over and over again, unlike others that have supported this legislation, over and over again, that this will make illegal all insurance except cosmetic, except insurance for, I guess that's for plastic surgery. Everything else is banned under the Medicare for all.
I'd like to go a little longer there, but obviously, Senator Sanders, you get a response. Senator Sanders, you get a response.
You know, Mike, Medicare is the most popular health insurance program in the country. People don't like their private insurance companies. They like their doctors and hospitals. Under our plan, people go to any doctor they want, any hospital they want. We will substantially lower the cost of healthcare in this country because we'll stop the greed of the insurance company.
On this issue, we have to think about how this affects real people. And the reality of how this affects real people is captured in a story that many of us heard, and I will paraphrase. There is, any night in America, a parent who's seeing that their child has a temperature that is out of control, calls 911, what should I do? And they say, take the child to the emergency room. And so they get in their car and they drive, and they're sitting in the parking lot outside of the emergency room, looking at those sliding glass doors while they have the hand on the forehead of their child, knowing that if they walk through those sliding glass doors, even though they have insurance, they will be out a $5,000 deductible when they walk through those doors. That's what insurance companies are doing in America today.
We're going to continue this discussion.
I'm one of those parents. I was just in the emergency room. I'm telling you,
Thank you.
we fight health insurance companies every single week. We stand in line and pay expensive prescription drugs. We have to have a healthcare. If you're sick, you're seen, and in America, you never go broke because of it.
Okay. A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and I'll hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. Okay. Let me start with you, Mayor Buttigieg. Why? Mayor Buttigieg, why?
Because our country is healthier when everybody is healthier. And remember, we're talking about something people are given a chance to buy into. In the same way that there are undocumented immigrants in my community who pay. They pay sales taxes. They pay property taxes directly or indirectly. This is not about a handout. This is an insurance program. And we do ourselves no favor by having 11 million undocumented people in our country be unable to access health care. But of course, the real problem is we shouldn't have 11 million.
All right, bitches, I'm fucking back.
It makes no sense. And the American people.
Not sponsored by Dr. Pepper. It's just a drink of choice, but I'm not sipping on.
Consists of
Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker
has divided us around a consensus issue. The American people want a pathway to citizenship. They want a protections for dreamers. We need to clean up the lawful immigration system, like how my father immigrated to this country. And as part of a compromise, we can do whatever common sense measures are needed in order. But Washington can't deliver on something the American people want.
What does common sense measures mean?
It tells you it needs profound structural reform.
Vice President Biden, I believe you said that your health care plan would not cover undocumented immigrants. Could you explain your position?
I'm sorry, beg your pardon.
I believe with the.
Oh, I'm hard of hearing on that one.
Raise your hand. Did you raise your hand?
No, I did.
Okay, sorry. So you said they would be covered under your plan, which is different than Obamacare.
Yes, but here's
Can you
the thing.
explain that change?
Yes, you cannot let, as the mayor said, you cannot let people who are sick, no matter where they come from, no matter what their status, go uncovered. You can't do that. It's just going to be taken.
So what are we going to do? How about we sue Mexico for the unpaid trillions of dollars worth of medical bills that their citizens have ran up at our hospital? You don't believe me? Look up the numbers. It's trillions of dollars. Literally a quarter of our national debt could be paid off if Mexico paid us for the services at the hospital that illegal immigrants have cost.
Being able to be treated and not wait till they're in extremis. The other thing is, folks,
Government said no, we can't do that. I work for someone who tried.
By number one, putting insurance executives in jail for the misleading advertising, what they're doing on opioids, what they're doing paying doctors to prescribe. We could be doing this by making sure everyone who is on Medicare, that the government should be able to negotiate the price for whatever.
Oh, so the government should be able to negotiate the price. What about when the government's not willing to pay the price for insulin? Do the people with diabetes just fucking die then?
A lot more we need to talk to all of you about, so stay with us. We're just getting started. We'll be back with more from Miami right after.
And even more so, once the pharmaceutical companies know that the government has to pay for this medicine, foreign citizens, they're going to raise their already exorbitant prices up even more. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Zero. And that is not the fucking white power symbol. And that was not the intentions of doing it. But guess what? I'm going to do it with both hands. And I'm going to talk like who is it? It's Beto O'Rourke. I'm Beto. Robert Francis O'Rourke. And I'm going to talk to you like I'm very emotional about what you did. I just skateboarded over here. And un momento, necesito impreso mi el hispánico amigos en la crowd. Yo también soy de la Beto. Me muy love the soy. So yo soy whatever. Yo soy Beto O'Rourke. Yo soy Señor Robert Francis O'Rourke. Mis padres named me Beto so I can fool the El Españoles into voting for me. Thank you. I don't really have much else to say other than we're going to hug each other. We're going to love each other. And we are going to be each other. And Beto.
Thank you very much. Senator Harris, last month, more than 130,000 migrants were apprehended at the southern border. Many of
Jesus.
them are being detained, including small children, in private detention centers in Florida and throughout.
That's terrible. So let's get down to the bottom of this. We shouldn't have private fucking prisons. The government wants to lock you up. They can fucking lock you up. They can't pay someone else to lock you up. They need to have fucking cops or fucking marshals, whatever the fuck you want to call them. And those motherfuckers who told you got to go fucking spend 10 years in prison have got to go fucking hire somebody and be responsible for his bitch ass to come down to the building that they fucking own, that they're fucking holding your bitch ass in, and fucking make a fucking cop. The same ones who are gonna fucking put your ass there, they better come in there and motherfucking watch your bitch ass, or you should be able to walk free. You don't know no fucking private prison, no fucking time. So they can fucking get on their goddamn knees and suck my dick.
I will also immediately put in place a meaningful process for reviewing the cases for asylum. I will release children from cages. I will get rid of the
Ain't no fucking kids in cages. You can shut the fuck up. If anything, if you want to call a cage the size of a motherfucking warehouse, sorry, what? Why are they there? You know, if you walked your kid across the goddamn desert, you would be put in jail for child endangerment. And you would be separated. And you separated kids from their parents through the fucking DA's office. So suck a dick.
Who pays a coyote to transport her child through their country of origin, through the...
It's not a coyote. It's a coyote.
Facing unknown peril to come here.
They see 80% of the women
I
raped.
will tell you. Because she has decided for that child to remain where they are is birth. But what does Donald Trump do?
No, they're using the fucking child to get in the fucking country.
That is not reflective of our America and our values, and it's gotta end.
Day one, if you want, day one at the White House. How do you respond?
With his children?
Let me get to you in just a second. Governor, day one, thousands of men, women, and children cross the border asking for asylum for a better life. What do you do? Day one, hour one. Well, certainly the images we've seen this week just compound the emotional impact that the world is judging us by. If you'd ever told me any time in my life that this country would sanction federal agents to take children from the arms of their parents, put them in cages, actually put them up for adoption.
I hope y'all heard that fucking bomb-ass song I just sang about fucking SpaghettiOs and meatballs. Summertime, eating's easy. SpaghettiOs and meatballs in the microwave can eat with me. No, that was terrible. It was way better the first time. And I can't sing for shit. John Hickenlooper, former Colorado governor.
And they begin looking at that, turning away where they're addressing the whole needs of the people.
I can't wait till they talk about climate change. They will get to climate change, and we will talk about people skiing in July. Possibility this year.
What Donald Trump has done to these children, and it's not just in Colorado, Governor, you're right, it is kidnapping, and it's extremely important for us to realize that. If you forcibly take a child from their parents' arms, you are kidnapping them. And if you take a lot of children and you put them in a detainment center, thus inflicting chronic trauma upon them, that's called child abuse. This is collective child abuse. And when
the people.
And if your government does it, that doesn't make it less of a crime. These are state-sponsored crimes.
The people who are walking their fucking kids across the goddamn desert are the fucking people committing fucking child abuse.
He is attacking a basic principle of America's moral core. We open our hearts to the stranger. This is extremely important. And it's also important for all of us to remember, and I have great respect for everyone who is on this stage, but we're going to talk about what to do about healthcare. Well, where have you been, guys? Because if it's not just a matter of a plan, and I haven't heard anybody on this stage who has talked about American foreign policy in Latin America and how we might have in the last few decades contributed to something big.
Senator Gillibrand, what would you do as president with a reality?
Well, one of the worst things about President Trump that he's done to this country is he's torn apart the moral fabric of who we are. When he started separating children at the border from their parents, the fact that 7 children have died in his custody, the fact that dozens of children have been separated from their parents and they have no plan to reunite them. So I would do a few things. First, I would fight for comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway to citizenship. Second, I would reform how we treat asylum seekers at the border. I would have a community-based treatment center where you're doing it within the communities, where asylum seekers are given lawyers, where there's real immigration judges, not employees of the Attorney General, but appointed for life, and have a community-based system. I would fund border security, but the worst thing President Trump has done is he's diverted the funds away from cross-border terrorism, cross-border human trafficking, drug trafficking,
Oh, he has?
and gun trafficking, and he's given that money to the for-profit prisons. I would not be spending money for profit prisons to lock up children and asylum seekers.
We had a very spirited debate.
Or maybe he just hired contractors because you won't fucking secure the border. There's people coming over. They have to be, by your laws, they have to be held. So he has to build fucking prisons. You won't give him any money, so he hires someone to do it.
Can we keep the hands up so we can see them?
Let's remember, that's not just a theoretical exercise. That criminalization, that is the basis for family separation. It's no longer possible. Of course, it wouldn't be possible anyway in my presidency because it is dead wrong. We got to talk about one other thing, because the Republican Party likes to cloak itself in the language of religion. Now, our party doesn't talk about that as much, largely for a very good reason, which was we are committed to the separation of church and state, and we stand for people of any religion and people of no religion. But we should call out hypocrisy when we see it. And for a party that associates itself with Christianity, to say that it is okay to suggest that God would smile on the division of families at the hands of federal agents, that God would condone putting children in cages, has lost all claim to ever use
We're
religious
trying to
language.
find it.
Vice President, Mr. Vice President, I don't know if you raised your hand or were just asking to speak. Would you decriminalize crossing the border without documents?
The first thing I would do is unite families. I'd surge immediately. Billions of dollars worth of help to the region immediately. Talk about foreign policy. I'm the guy that got a bipartisan agreement at the very end of the campaign, at the very end of our term, to spend $1 million to deal with the problem. And that was to go to the root cause of why people are leaving in the first place. It was working. We saw, as you know, a net decrease in the number of children who are coming. The crisis was abated.
The crisis was abated. No, it wasn't.
We discontinued that.
They didn't come because there weren't any fucking jobs. You didn't have any fucking economic growth. Was that your fucking plan, just to fucking destroy it?
The law now requires the reuniting of those families. We would reunite those families, period. And if not, we put those children in a circumstance where they were safe until we could find their parents. And lastly, the idea that he's in court with the Justice Department saying children in cages do not need a bed, do not need a blanket, do not need a toothbrush. That is outrageous.
Vice President, the Obama-Biden administration deported more than 3 million Americans. My question to you is, if an individual is living in the United States of America without documents, and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
No. Depending if they committed a major crime, they should be deported. And the president was left in President Obama, I think, did a heck of a job. To compare him to what this guy's doing is absolutely, I find, totally immoral. But the fact is that, look, we should not be locking people up. We should be making sure we change the circumstance as we did, why they would leave.
I think I might have too many.
In the first place. And those who come seeking asylum, we should immediately have the capacity to absorb them, keep them safe until they can be heard.
He looks pissed off that they asked him that fucking question. How fucking dare you ask me that, bitch? We only deported 3 million. You remember both them, him and Obama, talked about how you couldn't bring your kids in, you had to go to the back of the line, no path to citizenship. That was 7, 8 years ago. These are the words that these people use. You can argue with my words all you want. Can't argue with your own words, Joe. Number 2, we have to tax the person.
And you have a situation where Honduras, among other things, is a failing state. Massive corruption. You got gangs.
Socialism.
Families that if a 10-year-old does not join that gang, that family is going to be killed. What we've got to do on day one is the presidents and the leadership of Central America and Mexico together. This is
So we could convince them to be socialists with us. Then all of us have the same shoes. You will walk a mile in the millionaire shoes because everyone will have same shoes.
Offense, is that person to be deported?
No.
that person can be a part of this great American experience. That person can contribute. My congressional district is one of the most diverse in America, and we see the benefits when people contribute.
Where are you from in California? Are you from LA?
For me,
there are lots and lots of diversity. You've got people with no tents, people with tents, people who share tents, 8 people in an apartment, 10 people in a house, tents, drugs, tents,
as president, to reverse that and to make
drugs.
sure that families always belong together.
Senator Harris.
Well, thank you. I will say, no, absolutely not. They should not be deported. And I actually, this was one of the very few issues with which I disagreed with the administration, with whom I otherwise had a great relationship and a great deal of respect. But on the secure communities issue,
with Trump,
I was Attorney General of California. I led the second largest Department of Justice in the United States.
I put lots of people in jail and separated lots of people from their kids.
40 million people. And on this issue, I disagreed with my president because the policy was to allow deportation of people who, by ICE's own definition, were non-criminals. So as Attorney General and the Chief Law Officer of the state of California, I issued a directive to the sheriffs of my state that they did not have to comply with detainers and instead should make decisions based on the best interest of public safety of their community. Because what I saw, and I was tracking it every day. I was tracking it and saw that parents, people who had not committed a crime, even by ICE's own definition,
they had committed a crime when they came here illegally.
This kind of policy, and I know it as a prosecutor. I want a rape victim to be able to run in the middle of the street and wave down a police officer and report the crime against her. I want anybody who has been the victim of any real crime to be able to do that and not be afraid.
Let me just pull the most fucking horrendous thing. You couldn't say someone who was just killed. So you had to say someone who was just violently raped to be able to run out and ask the police. I think they're going to ask the police. They're not thinking about their immigration status after they get raped.
Geopolitical threat facing the U.S. 4 of them mention China. U.S. businesses say China steals our intellectual property, and party leaders on both sides accuse China of manipulating their currency to keep the cost of goods artificially low. Let's this to Senator Bennett to start off with. How would you stand up to China?
I think that first of all, the biggest threat to our national security right now is Russia, not China. And second, on China, we've got competition because of what they've done with our election.
Oh, what did they do with the election? Please tell me about the $150,000. There was no collusion. They didn't do 0.1% of what we did. Well, at least what we've caught what they did. They probably did 10% of what we did, but we know about 1%. Okay? Chinese fucked with our elections way worse than the Russians did. They literally have it in the communist papers and stuff like that, that they have lots of people that are here infiltrating politics, marrying white men that are in politics, being their mistresses, being their drivers, Dianne Feinstein. They infiltrate our politics all the time and influence our elections and try. That's why there's not certain images in movies, is because the Chinese don't want it there. That's why Google's making their own fucking search engine for them. So this guy can suck a dick too. He's fucking dishonest.
The border of the United States into a symbol of
no, Israel just built their wall. We probably built that one more than we would build the Great Wall of China, because that one works better. Though I think the only times that they've breached the Great Wall of China is someone's left the gate open.
Concerns about technology and taking jobs. Are you worried about China? And if so, how would you stand up against it?
Well, I just want to agree that
I cannot say that because I am Chinese. I don't know, he might be some other Asian.
They've been laughing their asses off about it for the last couple of years. So we should
no, they didn't hack anything.
Worrying about other threats. Now, China, they do pirate our intellectual property. It's a massive problem. But the tariffs and the trade war are just punishing businesses and producers and workers on both sides. I met with a farmer in Iowa who said he spent 6 years building up a buying relationship in China that's now disappeared and gone forever. And the beneficiaries have not been American workers or people in China, in Southeast Asia and other producers that have then stepped into the void. So we need to crack down on Chinese malfeasance in the trade relationship, but the tariffs and the trade war are the wrong way to go.
They sure seem like they're working.
I mean, first of all, we've got to recognize that the China challenge really is a serious one. This is not something to dismiss or wave away. And if you look at what China is doing, they're using technology for the perfection of dictatorship. But their fundamental economic model isn't going to change because of some tariffs. I live in the industrial Midwest. Folks who aren't in the shadow of a factory are somewhere near a soy field where I live. And manufacturers, and especially soy farmers, are hurting. Tariffs are taxes. And Americans are going to pay on average $800 more a year because of these tariffs. Meanwhile, China is investing so that they can...
Who are they going to pay it to? We're going to pay it to our own government instead of anyone else. Then you can afford some of those fucking programs you want. But until then, the Chinese are going to have to lower their price so that they can compete. So it's not a tax on the American people. That's just your way of being a fucking dick. So if we charge them an extra 8%, so
the biggest thing we've got to do,
their product's $100. We charge them 8%. But what are they subjecting? 15%? So we charge them 15. They're at 115. But they were only at 100 because the American steel was at 110. So it's not. Now they're at 115. We're at 110. So what are they going to do? They're going to drop their pants to 95 so that they're at 103 and they're still beating us and still undercutting us. But it's going to put money directly into the coffers of America and cut the profits of the Chinese. That's the point. Time out. 5 minutes.
All right, let's take a look at the Electoral College in 2020. The place to start, obviously, is where the last election ended, 2016. And remember, of course, by the popular vote, Hillary Clinton had almost 3 million more of those than Donald Trump. But we don't elect the president by national popular vote. We do it by the Electoral College. And there, Donald Trump had the right combination of votes in the right states, enough to win 306 electoral votes for him. So how is that map looking for 2020? Well, first of all, I think one thing you need to do, just understand how narrow that Trump path was in the Electoral College in 2016. You can start by looking at Wisconsin. Look at that margin there. Fewer than 25,000 votes separated Clinton from Trump in Wisconsin. This was a state that had not gone for a Republican in a presidential election since 1984 by a margin of fewer than 25,000 votes. Trump becomes the first in over 3 decades. He gets Wisconsin, the margin in Michigan even closer, barely 10,000 votes. Trump over Clinton, and again, that's the first time since '88 that a Republican carried Michigan. And then there was Pennsylvania here, about 44,000 votes. That's the margin for Trump over Clinton in Pennsylvania. Trump wins all 3 of those states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, by a combined total of about 75,000 votes. That's it, but that's enough to win the Electoral College. So for Democrats, if they want to reverse the result of 2016, that is the easiest and most direct path, at least on paper. You flip those states where Trump's margin was the narrowest, those states that had been voting Democratic before 2016, you flip them back, you win the Electoral College, if everything else stays the same. So that's the most direct path for Democrats, at least on paper. But hey, things can change over the course of a few years. There are other states to be keeping an eye on as well. I'll give you an example. Perfect one right here. Florida. We always talk about Florida, right? Remember Florida from back in 2000. Well, here's one. Again, Donald Trump was somewhat of a surprise on election night. I think the Clinton campaign had been feeling decent about Florida, but Trump pulled out Florida in 2016. 29 electoral votes right there. We obviously expect to be very competitive in 2020. If the Democrats can flip Florida, just given the size of the state, that is a massive change. The one cautionary note for Democrats, though, they had a big year in the 2018 midterms. It was not big enough to carry over to Florida. In Florida, in the 2018 midterms, a Republican won the governor's race. A Republican won the Senate race. Ousted a Democratic incumbent, in fact, in that Senate race. So Florida, it's tantalizing on paper for Democrats. It's always tantalizing on paper for Democrats. But does 2018 tell you that maybe there's a little bit second strength there in Florida. And of course, Arizona. This is one Democrats have been talking about now. A long-time red state that Democrats think demographically might be trending in their favor. This is a state Democrats did do well in the 2018 midterms, winning a Senate race there. Clinton got within 3 points. Democrats hope that there's some momentum there, some demographics, some political momentum, and they could flip Arizona. That could change things too.
Welcome back to the Democratic presidential debate from the Arts Center in Miami.
As we continue the questioning, we want to bring in more members of our team.
So let's turn it over to Chuck Todd and Rachel Mack.
Well, I had a dream that we've done this before. No, this didn't happen. Definitely the first time. Thank you, Lester, Savannah, and Jose. Let's quickly recap the rules one more time. 20 candidates qualified for this first debate. We've heard from 10 of them from last night. We're hearing from 10 more tonight. Breakdown for each night was selected at random. Candidates will have 60 seconds to answer direct questions, 30 seconds for follow-ups if necessary.
Because of this large field of candidates, not every person will be able to comment on everything, but the less audience reaction there is, the more time they will all yes. Over the course of the next hour, we will hear from all of these candidates, but we are going to begin this hour with Mayor Buttigieg. In the last 5 years, civil rights activists in our country have led a national debate over race and the criminal justice system. Your community of South Bend, Indiana, has recently been in uproar over an officer-involved shooting. The police force in South Bend is now 6% black in a city that is 26% black. Why has that not improved over your 2 terms as mayor?
Because I couldn't get it done. My community is in anguish right now because of an officer-involved shooting. A black man, Eric Logan, killed by a white officer. I'm not allowed to take sides until the investigation comes back. The officer said he was attacked with a knife, but he didn't have his body camera on. It's a mess, and we're hurting. And I could walk you through all of the things that we have done as a community, all of the steps that we took from bias training to de-escalation, but it didn't save the life of Eric Logan. And when I look into his mother's eyes, I have to face the fact that nothing that I say will bring him back. This is an issue that is facing our community and so many communities around the country. And until we move policing out from the shadow of systemic racism, whatever this particular incident teaches us, we will be left with the bigger problem of the fact that there's a wall of mistrust put up one racist act at a time, not just from what's happened in the past, but from what's happening around the country in the present. It threatens the well-being of every community. And I am determined to bring about a day when a white person driving a vehicle and a black person driving a vehicle, when they see a police officer approaching, feels the exact same thing, a feeling not of fear, but of safety. I'm determined to bring that day about.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If I could ask one question, just because I think,
Governor, I'll give you 30 seconds.
I think that the question they're asking in South Bend, I think it seems across the country, is why has it taken so long? We had a shooting when I first became mayor 10 years before Ferguson, and the community came together and we created an Office of the Independent Monitor, a Civilian Oversight Commission. We diversified the police force in 2 years. We actually did de-escalation training. I think the real question that America should be asking is why 5 years after Ferguson, every city doesn't have this level of police accountability.
Governor Hickenlooper, thank you.
I've got to respond to that. Look, we've taken so many steps toward police accountability that the FOP just denounced me for too much accountability. We're obviously not there yet. And I accept responsibility for that because I'm in charge.
You should fire the chief.
So under Indiana law, this will be investigated and there will be accountability.
Here comes the whip. Here comes the whip.
Policy and someone died.
All of these issues are important, but there are specifics, there are symptoms, and the underlying cause has to do with deep realms of racial injustice, both in our criminal justice system.
At least she didn't say racism.
And the Democratic Party country should be on the side of reparations
Where-
for slavery for the. I do not believe that the average American is a racist. But the average American is woefully undereducated about the history of race in the United States.
I would like to speak.
Vice President Biden, we're gonna get to you. Hang on, we're gonna get
On stage, I would like to speak on the issue of race. Senator Harris, and so what
I'm gonna start round 2 of this drinking shit off with a big fuck you. I ain't gotta pay for no fucking body who had fucking slaves, because guess what? I ain't never had slaves. My family ain't never had slaves. In fact, come find out I come from Irish stock, so motherfucker, we were slaves. Where's my motherfucking reparations?
Be he a relative, a friend, or a coworker who has not been the subject of some form of profiling or discrimination.
Yeah.
Growing up, my sister and I had to deal with
Hashtag me too.
because her parents couldn't play with us because we were black. And I will say
Hashtag me
that
too.
in this campaign, we've also heard, and I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden. I do not believe you are a racist, and I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal.
Here
and
comes the
it
whip.
was personal.
The first hour was smooth.
Talk about the reputation
Second hour,
of two
put them
United
dukes
States
up.
senators who built their reputations and the segregation
Hands up, boy.
of race in
Get your ass whooped.
And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me. So I will tell you that on this subject,
So suck my dick, Joe Biden. Get back here, rub my shoulders, and
we have to take it seriously. We have
blow
to
in my ear, baby.
As Attorney General of
'Cause you
California,
just got-
I was very proud to put in place a
Bitch!
requirement that all my special agents would wear body cameras and keep those cameras on.
Ooh, and she turned it back at Pete. Likes it in the butt. She's gonna be the nominee. She's a woman. She's black. She checks both of those boxes.
That is not true.
And she's the hardest for Trump to attack.
Have this campaign litigated.
She's not.
For civil rights, whether I did or not, I'm happy to do that.
She's not Elizabeth Warren, so you can't just be like, well, you give DNA test to see if you're really black.
When in fact my city was in flames because of the assassination of Dr. King. Number one. Now, number two, as the Vice President of the United States, I work with a man who, in fact, we worked very hard to see to it we dealt with these issues in a major, major way. The fact is that in terms
Did you?
of busing, you would have been able to go to school the same exact way because it was a local decision made by your city council. That's fine. That's one of the things I argue for, that we should be breaking down these lines. But so the bottom line here is, look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America? Then, do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed.
Yes, you did.
Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a
So
local
that's where the
decision.
federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there's a moment in history when states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
The ERA from the very beginning, when I ran
about 30 seconds, Bill.
I supported the ERA from the very beginning. I'm the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years. We got to the place where we got 98 out of 98 votes in the United States Senate doing it. I've also argued very strongly that we, in fact, deal with the notion of denying people access to the ballot box. I agree that everybody.
By asking them for an ID. And you're denying them the right to alcohol. You're denying them the right to drive. You're denying them the right to go to college, the right to have a job, the right to do anything because they can't get a fucking ID. Do you know how fucking racist you are if you think black people can't get an ID? Say it slowly. Black people don't know how to get an ID. Do you know how stupid you sound?
When they make this decision.
No, absolutely not. Unlike the Republican Party, we encourage diversity. We believe in diversity.
Unlike the Republican Party, who thinks that the government should be very small,
in terms of having
the racist
from the LGBT community, we also have to do something else, and that is we have to ask ourselves a simple question, and that how come today the worker in the middle of our economy is making no more money than he or she made 45 years ago, and that in the last 30 years, the top 1% has seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth. We need a party that is diverse.
I don't think that's true, Bonnie. Bonnie, that's not true. It's not true at all.
Special interests who have so much power over the economic and political life of this country.
This is not true, Bonnie. In fact, this is the first time that wages are outgoing inflation. Like Trump, don't like Trump. You can't fucking argue with the fucking numbers.
Of the corruption, the money in politics, the fact that Washington is run by the special interests. You are never going to solve any of these problems. I have the most comprehensive approach that experts agree is the most transformative plan to actually take on political corruption, to get money out of politics through publicly funded elections, to have clean elections. If we do that and get money out of politics, we can guarantee.
That's something I could somewhat agree with. You get a budget, you get to spend that budget. Hell, you make the fucking cable channels give you fucking free advertising as a service.
When I was a young senator.
Thank you, Vice President.
You make elections cost a couple $100,000 instead of a couple million or a couple $100 million or a couple billion.
President Obama promised in 2012 that after his reelection,
As long as it costs that much money to get elected president of the United States, you can never expect special interests to get out of it because they're the only people with that much money.
believe that somehow if there's a Democratic president in 2021, that gridlock is going to magically disappear.
Gridlock will not magically disappear as long as Mitch McConnell is there first. Second, that's why it is so important for us to
Scapegoats.
win not just the presidency, to have somebody that can run in all 50 states, but to win the Senate as well.
And the House. And keep the House. Win all the state houses.
Like Medicare Act, so that we can build a broad coalition of Americans to overcome broken Washington, D.C. I agree with what Senator Gillibrand was saying. I share a lot of her views. We need to end gerrymandering in Washington. We need to end political gerrymandering in Washington. The court today said they couldn't do anything about it. Citizens United, the court was the one that gave us Citizens United, and the attack on voting rights in Shelby versus Holder is something we need to deal with. All of those things has happened since Vice President Biden was in the Senate. And we face structural problems that we have to overcome.
He's a dartboard right now. Like, who's going to touch him? Harris just beat his ass. And now everybody's like, oh yeah. Right.
It does sound
They're trying to set him up to take himself out of the race.
What's been happening in the United States Senate over the last 12 years.
She started that out sweet. She went prosecutor mode on it.
Just since we were vice president, we needed 3 votes to pass an $800 billion recovery act that kept us from going into depression. I got 3 votes changed. We needed to be able to keep the government from shutting down and going bankrupt. I got Mitch McConnell to raise taxes $600 billion by raising the top rate. And as recently as after President got elected, I was able to put together a coalition of the Cures Act that billions of dollars go into cancer research, bipartisan. But sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you just have to go out and beat them. I went into 20 states, over 60 candidates, and guess what? We beat them. We won back the Senate.
Thank you.
Chuck, the problem with what Vice President
30 seconds. Go ahead.
talked about with Mitch McConnell was a complete victory for the Tea Party. It extended the Bush tax cuts permanently. The Democratic Party had been running against that for 10 years. We lost that economic argument because that deal extended almost all those Bush tax cuts permanently.
Because the Obama administration was the worst negotiating administration in my lifetime. They got beat in every negotiation. Paris Climate Accord. America was going to pay 3 times as much and have 3 times the regulations, and nobody else was going to have to essentially do anything other than pay paper service to it. The TPP was going to ship jobs out of America. It was going to move the last bit of industry out of America, where everyone was going to have to be in the tech sector, the service sector, or sales, I guess.
So we restore the power of our democracy into the hands of the voters, not into the Koch brothers.
The Iranian deal, they got money. Koch brothers would rather support you than Donald Trump any day, or any type of libertarian that wants no government.
Imagine their voices carrying farther and wider than anyone else because their voice is needed. And as president, it's the first thing I'm going to do because nothing else is possible, whether it's education or healthcare or ending institutional racism.
Sanders, I'd like to put a different question to you. Roe versus Wade has been the law of the land since 1973. Now that there is a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, several Republican-controlled states have passed laws to severely restrict or even ban abortion. Laws could very well make it to the Supreme Court during your presidency, if you're elected president. What is your plan if Roe is struck down in the court while you're president?
Well, my plan is somebody who believes for a start that a woman's right to control her own body is a constitutional right.
It's not, because it doesn't say anything about it in the Constitution. By definition, it's not a constitutional right. That's not it's right, it's wrong. It's just not in the Constitution.
My litmus test is I will never nominate any justice to the Supreme Court unless that justice is 100% clear he or she will defend Roe v. Wade.
Oh, he's not gonna nominate a transgender judge. He's not woke. He's out. He's not a progressive. Fuck him. Fuck him. Fuck him.
To other courts. And that brings in new blood into the Supreme Court and a majority, I hope, that will understand that a woman has the right to control her own body and the corporations.
And Rambo.
I'm going to give you 10 additional seconds because the question is, what if the court has already overturned Roe and Roe is gone? All of the things you just described would be to try to preserve Roe. If Roe is gone, what could you do as
I didn't listen because I wanted to answer and tell everyone I'm against abortion.
But let's face this, Medicare for all guarantees every woman in this country the right to have an abortion if she wants it.
Thank you, Senator.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Man, guarantees you the right to fucking kill a baby. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, let's roll.
Are under assault.
Shit.
By President Trump and the Republican Party.
I be squirting babies.
Are trying to overturn Roe v. Wade right now. And it is mind-boggling to me that we are debating this on this stage in 2019
Kristen Gillibrand,
among
she could
Democrats,
get it.
whether women should have access to reproductive rights. I think we have to stop playing defense and start playing offense. But let me tell you one thing about politics, because it goes to the corruption and the deal-making. When the door is closed and the negotiations are made, there are conversations about women's rights, and compromises have been made on our backs. That's how we got to Hyde. That's how the Hyde Amendment was created, a compromise by leaders of both parties. Then we have the ACA. During the ACA negotiation, I had to fight my heck with other women to make sure that contraception wasn't sold down the river or abortion services. And so what we need to know is, imagine this one question. When we beat President Trump, and Mitch McConnell wants to take over office, God forbid, to do negotiations, who do you want when that door closes to be sitting behind that desk to fight for women's rights? I have been the fiercest advocate for women's reproductive freedom for over a decade. And I promise you, as president, when that door closes, I will guarantee women's reproductive freedom no matter what.
Thank you. We're moving to climate, guys. Senator Harris.
Yeah!
You first.
We're
If you live in a state that has been hit
We're
by
skiing too, baby!
is a major concern for voters in your state. It's pretty obvious. Obviously, this state as well. Last night,
Wildfires. Clean your fucking forest up and they won't fucking catch on fire. Dead wood burns.
Well, first of all, I don't even call it
So does hell.
climate crisis. It represents an existential threat to us as a species. And the fact that we have a president of the United States who has embraced science fiction over science fact will be to our collective peril.
What science fact is there?
While
What's the scientific log governing fucking global warming?
Firefighters who were in the midst of fighting a fire.
I thought it was global cooling. And now it's fucking June 27th and got 100 degrees in Dallas, Texas. Are you fucking crazy? It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
Right now. That is why I support a Green New Deal. It is why I believe on day one, and as president, will re-enter us in the Paris Agreement.
The Paris Agreement that says fuck America right in its booty hole. No loop. Just right in and out, and the world just laughs. Says, me too.
Donald Trump. And I'm going to tell you why.
Woo, Donald Trump's a bigger threat than climate change. Beating 97% of scientists. Go, 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 ninja, go, ninja, go, go, ninja, go, ninja, go.
He embraces Kim Jong-un, a dictator for the sake of a photo op. Putin, you want to talk about Russia? He picks the word of the Russian president over the word of the American intelligence community when it comes to
Weapons of mass destruction. The FBI was spying on him. The CIA was using other countries' spy mechanisms to spy on him. Why would he be nervous of that? Why would he be worried about that? Why would you?
Change in the Midwest.
Well, the reality is we need to begin adapting right away, but we also can't skip a beat on preventing climate change from getting even worse. It's why we need aggressive and ambitious measures. It's why we need
no
to do
cows. They might fart.
But I would propose we do it in a way that is rebated out to the American people in a progressive fashion so that most Americans are made more than whole. This isn't theoretical for us in South Bend either. Parts of California on fire right here in Florida, they're talking about sea level rise. Well, in Indiana, I had to activate the emergency operations center of our city twice in less than 2 years. First time was a 1,000-year flood, and the next time was a 500-year flood. This is not just happening on the Arctic ice caps. This is happening in the middle of the country, and we've got to be dramatically more aggressive moving forward. Now, here's what very few people talk about. First of all, rural America can be part of the solution instead of being told they're part of the problem.
So it was the climate must have been worse 1,000 years ago.
Be a huge part of how we get this done. And secondly, we got to look to the leadership
It
of
wasn't a
local
1,500-year
There's
flood.
networks of mayors and cities from around
And
the
how
world.
do they measure that?
Not even waiting for our national governments to catch up. We should have a Pittsburgh summit where we bring them together as well as rejoining the Paris Agreement.
I want to bring Governor Hickenlooper into this for a moment. Governor, you have said that oil and gas companies should be a part of the solution on climate change. Lots of your colleagues on stage tonight have talked about moving away from fossil fuels entirely. Can oil and gas companies be real partners in this fight?
Well, I share the sense of urgency. I'm a scientist, so I recognize that we're within 10 or 12 years of actually, suffering irreversible damage. But guaranteeing everybody a government job is not going to get us there.
What kind of scientist are you, buddy?
Socialism, in that sense, is not the solution. We have to look at what really will make a difference. In Colorado, we're closing a couple of coal plants, replacing them with wind, solar, and batteries, and the monthly bills go down. We've got
Batteries?
building a network for electric vehicles. We are working with the oil and gas
A
industry.
network
and we've
for
created the first
electric
methane regulations in the country. Methane is 25 times worse than CO2. And then we've got to get to that last part. I mean, the industrial, heavy industry, we haven't seen the plans yet. If you look at the real problems.
We're not going to have any because the wind doesn't blow.
China, it's the United States, and then it's concrete and it's exhalation. And beyond that, I think we've got to recognize that only by bringing people together, businesses, nonprofits, and we can't do it.
We need to take their money. We need them to love us and think that the world is going to flood, so they'll give us their money. We don't get enough of their money. He still got to build a Ferrari because he had a good business and he made enough money and we could take another 20% What do trees eat?
Yes, number
What do
one,
plants eat?
immediate Whitlam
Carbon.
administration
They grow to their
built the
food
largest wind
level
farm in the world. The largest
until they
solar
started farming the
facility
bottom
in the
of
world.
the Amazon because it produces some of the best farmland ever. It was reforesting was happening at 10 times the rate they thought it was going to. Why? Because fucking trees love fucking carbon, and forests grow until they choke themselves out of air and food. And so when there's more carbon in the air, the trees just keep growing.
$100 million in new science and technology to be the exporter, not only of the green economy, but economy.
If what they were saying was true, the first time a fucking storm came through, it would knock all of the stuff out of the air onto your yard, and we would die of poisoning.
Makes up the rest. And so we have to have someone who knows how to corral the rest of the world, bring them together, and get something done like we did in our administration.
Senator Sanders, I want to give you 30 seconds to follow up, and I'm going to hold you to 30.
Look, the old ways are no longer relevant. The scientists tell us we have 12 years before there is a referendum.
What scientists told you that? They told you that so you'd give them money.
The United States should do is not deny the reality of climate change, but tell the rest of the world that instead of spending $1.5 trillion on weapons of destruction, let us get together for the common enemy, and that is to transform the world's energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. The future of the planet rests on us doing that.
Again, if anybody watches this video and thinks they're very smart and that climate change is real, tell me the scientific theory or law that would explain how carbon emissions would heat the planet. I bet you can't.
Just trust us on this.
You can't.
Doesn't mean you don't have old ideas. John Kennedy did not say, I have a plan to get a man to the moon, and so we're going to do it, and I think we can all work together, and maybe we get a man on the moon. When John Kennedy said, by the end of this decade, we are going to put a man on the moon. Because John Kennedy was back in the day when politics included the people. It included imagination, and included great dreams, and included great plans. And I have had a career not making the political plans.
The gay said that I hurt my meniscus, and my gay friend, I call him the gay. He said, is there anything that he can do to make it better? And not in a homo way, but like because we're actually friends, right? And I told him, yeah, give me your meniscus. And he's like, I guess I don't need it because I'm always on my knees. And they're like, no, motherfucker, you need it more.
I'm going to go down the line here, and I'm asking you, please, for 1 or 2 words only.
No, you need the padding.
Please.
Really?
President Obama in his first year wanted to address both healthcare and climate. And he could only get one signature issue accomplished. It was
But he couldn't. It didn't get healthcare done. He got it done with an executive order.
Your first issue that you're going to push.
That's why Trump could undo it, because he wasn't good enough to get it done with an executive order.
First issue for your presidency, Eric Swalwell, your first.
For Parkland, for Orlando, for every community affected by gun.
He's gonna nuke you if you don't give your fucking guns up.
Climate change and the lack of economic mobility Bernie talks about.
Senator Jeff Brown.
Passing a family bill of rights, a leave plan, universal pre-K, affordable daycare, and making sure that women and families can thrive in the workplace no matter who they are.
Oh, I like that. Okay, I'll and so passing a middle class and working families tax cut, DACA, guns.
Give away, take away. They want to give away all kinds of free shit and take away your rights. Think about that.
I'm not saying there's one or two.
Enormous crises. We need a political revolution. People have got to stand up.
Political revolution. We need to become a communist country and join the Soviet Union. We have sister cities.
I think you're so underestimating what Barack Obama did. He's the first man to bring together the entire world, 196 nations, to commit to deal with climate change immediately. So I don't find that. But the first
Sounds like my dog in the front yard.
is make sure that we defeat Donald Trump. Period.
Mayor Buttigieg, your first priority, your first issue as president, you were going to.
Bad dogs. How's our get out?
Before it's too late. Get that right. Climate, immigration, taxes, and every other issue gets better.
Mr. Gay.
I would pass a $1,000 freedom dividend for every American adult starting at age 18, which would speed us up on climate change because if you get the boot off of people's throats, they'll focus on climate change much more clearly.
I would do a collaborative approach to climate change, and I would pronounce it well before the election to make sure we don't re-elect the worst president in American history.
And Ms. Williams,
My first call is to the Prime Minister of New Zealand, who said that her goal is to make New Zealand the place where it's the best place in the world for a child to grow up. And tell a girl for you it's all right, because the United States of America is going to be the best place in the world for a child to grow up.
You know, you guys were close with the short, at least it was shorter
No, they were
response.
not at all.
All right, C minus.
We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back with these candidates right after this.
All right, well, on Election Day 2020, Donald Trump will be something he was not on Election Day 2016. That is President Donald Trump, an incumbent running for re-election. In some ways, a re-election campaign for president, of course, becomes a referendum on how folks feel the president did during his 4 years in office. So what can we say about how voters have been reacting so far to the Trump presidency? What you see here, this is his average approval rating, meaning you've always got these different polls out there. One day NBC will have one, the next day CNN will have one. They're always coming in from all over the place. This trend line is an average, a day-to-day average of all of those polls put together. And what you see here—
That was my neighbor because my dogs got out, so now I must end this live stream and go fucking
This is his high watermark, his peak.
let them get in trouble. We'll call it that way. Use your imagination.
46%. When was this?
Call Peter.
Early February 2017. That was his honeymoon. He had just become—
Huh.